Yeah, this is a rocked chain that I'm going to try to bring back to life. And these are the base numbers that I've used for a while. I may change them. Well, we'll see. I might go actually to a full 30. We'll see. But what I found is that this gets me to a point where I can actually start making chips again, but then oftentimes I got a hand file from that point forward to get where I like it, and especially with rakers. And that's kind of what I end up with, you know. I don't know if that shows well. And sometimes I go a little steeper, a little bit less gullet, but I've been starting like that, and it works pretty good, you know. Let's do a before and after. You can see how it kind of rolled over the cutting edge right there. And the problem is I'm never going to get back to the stock c83 or c85 cutting. So this is just getting good enough. But you know, actually, it does better than you think. At least better than I anticipated. So let's just go through this chain. You can see what they look like right now. You see how they're rolled over. I'll do a few links and get through this chain and see what it looks like on the flip side. Yeah, let's see what we got. And again, I know I have to take down the rakers on these quite a bit. But these were totally rocked. They were just rolled right over. So this will be an attempt to salvage a rocked chain. And again, I don't do any felling with this stuff. This is just the stuff I try to recover so I can do firewood and not have to buy new chains. So I get all the ones that I have run from the logging operation. You know, got dull or rocked or dirt or whatever else. Made them tick me off to the point where they come off the chainsaw. And these were all the Husky chains with the flat side right there. The, you know, the c83 or c85. And yeah, it may not be the prettiest, but after I knocked down the rakers, these things cut pretty good for firewood. Have another one here that got really pretty badly rocked. So let me see if I can find the teeth again. Damn. Check that one out. So it didn't have a whole lot of time on it, which is a darn shame. So let me see if I can get this one. Here's one of those skip chains. When I was evaluating that, I think these things have killed more chainsaws. This one happens to be a steel branded. Beautiful chain, but it needs to be a 28 or a 30 or something like that. 32, 36. You know, a 20-inch skip chain is stupid. It's like running a dull chain. So, what I'll do with that one, I'll do something with it. Let's see if I can make this work. This will be a great before and after right here. See that one right there? Well, I'm going to shuffle things around just a little bit. I think I pretty much established those two saws. This one technically still in development, the Domar, and of course that well-developed Husky is my felon saws. And I think I've got the Makita to a point where it's pretty stable. It's beginning to work for me, so I've gotten a lot happier with it. And of course I've got both those now with 28-inch X-Tough bars and using the C83 chain on them. So that's just how they're going to be pretty much for the rest of the work cycle. But what I'm going to shuffle around a little bit is these. Is I had this 285 and had the holes form a chain on it. I guess I got it to work okay. You know, for firewood and stuff like that, it's pretty much fine. But I need to make some room because I want to kind of work a little bit with my chain grinder, the sharpening tool I have to sharpen chains. I have a couple of chains in that box, actually like 10 of them. I want to start trying to develop a standard process where I can bring in like the C83 or one of the better chains like that and get it sharpened to a reasonable facsimile of a useful chain for me using my grinder. And now I had struggled with that a little bit because I was having a hard time getting what I considered a decent geometry on the tooth, but I think I kind of cracked the case a little bit on that, where I've got an idea I want to try out. But I don't want to waste time doing that with the work saws. I need them to be stable. So when I get back to felon, got to do a whole bunch of pulling, but when I get back to felon, I want those ready to go. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to screw around with them. So we're back to these saws. So my choices are continue with the 285, which is a beast. Maybe put a smaller bar on it. Back to my old 61 272 hybrid, which fired right up, by the way. Or, you know, that one. I've run that for quite a bit now. Now it's got the 24 C85, 24-inch bar C85 with an X-Tough. And I may throw that in there at some point because I think I've got a few chains that I did sharpen up that were that for that bar. So I don't think I'm going to do it today, but it may find its way back into the truck or into the quad. Or maybe bring this one out. This has been sitting for quite some time. It's what I lovingly call a 2175, which is a Husqvarna 372 XPW 51.4 millimeter top end on a 2171 John thread. Pretty fresh too. Fresh set of cases and stuff like that. Good saw. I ran it for work saw for a while. I think back in 2017-18 time frame. So really that's my choices. Which one do I pick to run? You know, I'll swap a bar around. I got a 20-inch and a 24. And maybe that's what I do is I start with this one right here because it'll be easier. Because it has the, you know, the internal clutch external sprocket. Maybe that's what I do. And just start running some of the chains I ground up. What I expect I need to do is what I'm going to have to do is touch up the rakers. So I think what I'm going to do now is bar up one of these saws with a bar and chain combination with the chain coming out of that box. And I want to do a 20-inch. So I've got a bar right there. So let me do that. And then when I do that, I'll touch up the rakers. And then I'm going to take a 24 and see whether or not I've got 24 50s or 24 58s. And that'll determine whether I use this one or at least that bar and chain. Or one of these. Decisions. Yeah, I think that one's just too big for now. So it took a little bit longer than I had planned. And I'm going to have to come up with a better solution, I think, for testing this. But that saw now has a new bar and chain. And the 28 that it wore ended up on this saw right here. And this is one of my grinds that I tried with the grinder. And then this one lost its 24 and got a 20. And I have basically a box full of 28s and 20s that I can tune and tweak until I get what I think is right. But I'm kind of curious. I think what we're going to do today is just go down to the woods real quick and find the top and just see how these two chains perform right off the grinder without any attention to the rakers. And my guess, this here is going to need some, you know. I'm tempted just to touch it, yeah, I think I'm going to have to hit that. I think what I'm going to do is revise that. I'm going to hit this one here with the raker file first and leave this one here because it's already been hit once. So this would be a C83 stock hit with the grinder, but no attention to the rakers. And from what I'm looking at right there, that's not going to cut anything. So I do have to hit the rakers. So I guess I'll turn the camera off and get back to work. So I'm going to start with this one right here. And that was the C83 that I hit with the grinder, and then I hit with the raker gauge, and that's it. Nothing special. So I'm kind of curious to see how it works just blocking, you know, standard hard maple. So let's get a little bit of time on that and see what we have. Yeah, I can tell you right now, that's a win. That's an absolute win. It may not be as aggressive as or smooth as stock C83, but just take a look. Yeah, that's a good cutting chain right there. Good running saw too, it helps. So that's the 28. We'll put more time on it tomorrow. And let's see if this thing restarts. Yeah, this is a build from a long time ago. Alright, let me get the 20 and see what it does, because this is absolutely a win. That's an acceptable chain. Now the question is, how long does it last? Yeah, it's alright. It's not as good as the other chain. But also the saw is not running quite as good either.
That's all right. The chain that's on the 2175 is a lot better. That one's a self-feeding chain. This one kind of is. Both of them I can plunge cut with. And this one I didn't do anything with the rakers at all. So the other one got both the grinder and the rakers, and I think it cuts beautifully. Yeah, it's not going to be like stock C83 in terms of overall cut speed, smoothness, and the blend. But it's more than adequate for firewood, stuff like that. So I literally have a 5-gallon pail full of 28-inch chains that are going to get that treatment, I think. And I'll use more of that and less of the new stuff, you know. But I've lost my daylight. Better get out of here.